Does this sound familiar? You understand the importance of technology in managing your operations. You even invest in documenting processes to make sure you select the right technologies. But then you run into another efficiency snag. Many of these digital technologies function in silos. In other words, they don't connect to each other. And this leads to bottlenecks, duplicate data entry, and worse, the inability to make effective decisions based on data that you actually trust. What was supposed to become an automated workflow dream becomes an inefficient nightmare. Hi, I'm Alicia Butler Pierre, and I know this story all too well. So that's why when I learned more about a technology that my friend co founded to solve this issue of fragmented data, I knew I had to invite him onto the show. Get ready. You're about to experience a live demo of this technology, and trust me, it's a game changer. This is Season 10, Episode 126. Let's start the show. Hey there, this season we are doing live workflow consultations, and joining me today is my good friend Wayne Lopez in Austin, Texas. Wayne is the co-founder and chief product officer at Vertify, and he's going to share with us something that so many of us are plagued with right now. You know how you invest in these different technologies and you gather data and analytics from all of those technologies, but then sometimes those technologies don't actually communicate with each other. So what should seem like a streamlined and more efficient effort actually becomes more cumbersome. Well, Wayne is going to give us a demonstration of his product. It's called Vertify, and Vertify actually helps bring together all of that data from different locations and connects it in a way so that we can make better decisions as leaders. Wayne, I'm so glad to see you. Do you know what? I think it's been about 20 something years since I've literally laid eyes on you. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. It's been a long, long time. So for everybody who's listening and watching, Wayne and I, we met in college.
Right.
And then I stopped seeing you around, Wayne.
Well, I mean, I think, we move, everybody kind of goes their separate places, right? And all over the country.
Right.
I went to graduate school in DC and then made the stop in Atlanta. And then now in Austin. So kind of have been all over the country, and you kind of, we haven't really lost that much touch with each other.
I know. I'm giving you a hard time because
you are.
thankfully, because of technologies like LinkedIn, and now we have, all of these screen sharing technologies, we can actually see each other now. So we have been in touch
right.
through LinkedIn, but I haven't actually laid eyes on you until today. So it's good to see you, Wayne.
It is.
Very good.
And you look the same, no matter what anybody
You do
says.
too.
You look the same. I don't believe that one bit, but
Well, listen, we're definitely here to talk about Vertify and have you give a demonstration of your amazing product. But first, before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about you.
Okay.
How exactly did you go from what you were doing when you first graduated from school to actually creating or co-founding Vertify?
Yeah, so it's really interesting when I was like cataloging kind of where I had come from in terms of my professional career over the past 20 years. We were talking to some investors and I kind of realized like, man, I've actually been in this data space for almost 20 years. I mean, I remember, working for companies like IBM and Capgemini, where I was building out early CRM applications and BI tools, even as a consultant 20 years ago. Right. And much more different than what you see today. Everything is in the cloud today. Everything, the UI and the user experience is much more friendly than things we were doing 20 years ago. But the same premise is still the same, right? People have all access to all of this data and they're just trying to make sense out of it. And so, what happened was, I moved to Austin several years ago, actually to work for another startup here in town that wound up being pretty successful. But I met my co-founder, Matt, and, we were at a company where there was a services component, and we knew that based on the customer demand, that there was actually a demand for a product to be built as a result of the services piece. So, the early foundations of the company was rooted in data integration. So you had all these systems, right? You think about what you just mentioned, where you have a CRM application, a marketing automation system, And oftentimes they don't communicate. And this actually winds up being a problem for the actual teams.
Right.
Because the people don't communicate, the data doesn't communicate, everybody's in silos, and it winds up just being chaos, right?
Yes.
And so our original problem was to connect the data so that, what we like to say was, hey, maybe the sales team and the sales application is speaking Japanese, and the marketing team and the marketing automation system is speaking French.
Mm-hmm.
And Vertify was the United Nations, right? We're kind of bringing it together so everybody can speak a common language.
Yeah, the translator.
The translator, right? The unified translator. Well, the thing that Matt and I quickly realized was that was the first and foundational problem, but really there was this higher value problem around being able to make better decisions off that data. So you have to connect it first. You have to be speaking the same language. But when you really got to the root of what most of our customers who are marketers or the revenue team were trying to solve, was help me analyze this data so I can report better, so I can make better decisions. And so it wasn't just about connecting it, but it was also about running analytics and making better decisions off that data. So we actually started talking to some of our customers, and they kind of came to us with the problem, said, look, you guys actually, persist the data that we're collecting. You're in a unique position to help us answer some questions. And things that they wanted to answer were things like, hey, is what I'm doing from a marketing standpoint, is it actually impacting revenue? I have no way to really know or justify that, right? I have no way to justify this budget that I'm asking for. Should it be this amount? Should it be more? Is what I'm doing working? Those were some of the things that the revenue and marketing team were asking us that, again, we were in a unique position to solve because we were integrating the data. Mm. And so we kind of took that integration product, the foundation of being able to connect data and being really good at collecting it, and turn it into an analytics platform. Matt and I, we talked to a lot of customers. One thing that I want to mention is this project was 100% customer driven. This wasn't something that we just kind of dreamt up and said, well, let's go and do it. No, our customers came to us and said, we want to solve this problem. Can you help us? And we listened to them every step of the way. We went and did a lot of market validation. We talked to people that could be customers that were maybe our ideal, profile of customer. And it kind of led us to, now making this product generally available, where all of that data that resides in those different systems that we're kind of collecting to be able to present what we call a full or 100% complete answer, not a partial answer out of data that comes out of just one system or data that just comes out of this system. Right. We're tying it all together. And again, I just kind of go back to all of my unique experiences over time, even from when we were in engineering school, kind of brought me to this point of the things that were necessary to be able to help our customers do that.
That is awesome, Wayne. And I want to mention something that I saw on the video. This is kind of not off subject, but in terms of, I like the fact that you said that this is a 100% customer driven product. So you knew going into this that this was something that was definitely wanted out there in the marketplace, even though you did go through some more validation, right?
Right, absolutely.
But something else that's making you all so successful is your team approach. So as I was watching a video on Vertify's website, I noticed there was some placards, I think, on the wall or some posters with some of the guiding principles of your company, one of them being team and logo first. I was wondering, again, before we get into the demo, please explain that, because that is so foundational. I tell people this all the time, not only my clients, but on this podcast as well. And so many guests come on and say, you can have the best products, the best processes, the best technologies, but if you don't have the people component, you have no business.
Right.
So so please talk about that if you don't mind before we get into the demo.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Vertify values, kind of what we call them, it wasn't necessarily us trying to say, oh, we have to have these things to abide by. We actually looked internally to say, like, what are the things that we value? Like the people that we're adding to our team, what's important about what they bring to the team?
Mhm.
What are the things that we value as individuals that make this team a great thing? So when you look at team and logo first, which we always, everywhere we put it up in terms of the placards or where we write it, it's the very first thing. And it's not to say that you as an individual don't matter, but we firmly believe that if you do the things according to what the team needs, and we operate as one organization, everything that you want individually, whether that's personally or professionally, will take care of itself. And so it's all about team and logo first. Let's do what the organization needs. Let's do it together. And everything that you want, it will be achieved. It will happen. And sometimes, unfortunately, that may not always be the case. But that helps people to be able to see, hey, if there are things that maybe I'm not aligned with this organization, that's okay. We'll help you see that. And maybe we've even helped sometimes, people go to other organizations because it's not a good fit. But, for us, we want people to see it's not about any one individual. We're doing this together. And so, even though, we're kind of separated because of COVID and things like that, we do things like the virtual happy hours. We try to get together because we do have a lot of people that like each other. We like working together, and it's all about that value of team and logo first.
Yeah, and so, and I can imagine how that extends itself into Vertify as a product in and of itself, because it's all about that connection piece, right?
Absolutely.
And so if you want to present the best company with the best product, it's all about having that connection, that seamless integration of what everybody contributes to the team. No one role or what someone may be doing is important than what someone else is contributing.
Right. I mean, we've seen it time and again, right? Sales and marketing would just operate as separate groups, right?
And operations. Don't forget about operations.
And operations. Yeah. I mean, all groups really, right?
Yeah.
But there's some groups that sometimes interrelate and work together more often than others. And I think that's a group that has a lot of dependency on each other. And so we try to promote that with our customers, right? It's the same thing. We have to abide by it. And we believe that you as a sales and marketing person should abide by that too. You're going to perform better. You're going to execute better if it's, all about team and logo first.
Okay. And I'm sure people are getting frustrated with me at this point for keeping everybody in suspense, but I do have a few more questions I want to ask you, Wayne, seriously, before we get into the demo. So I'm always curious about how people come up with the names for their companies. So Vertify.
Yep.
And I was trying to think, I wonder what that's based off of. Is the word verify a part of that? Okay.
Yes.
And the Vertify, like, how did that come together?
So verify, right? So if you think about data, right? I always want to verify data
Correct.
so that I can trust it.
Right.
Well, think about the word veritas, right?
Veritas. Okay.
Right. So when I'm thinking about faith and trust in data, I want to be able to verify it. So that's kind of how we came up with Vertify, right? I want to be able to trust that data and believe in it. And it's, I think a lot of times, again, revenue teams don't believe in their data. They don't trust it. They don't think that it's accurate. And we're helping them to be able to trust that data. So it all kind of makes sense when you look at the root of where the company name came from.
So I had a client once, a very large client that I worked with, and we were working on a master data project, and they kept talking about the importance of having a single source of truth when it came to the data. So it sounds like that's what Vertify is able to offer its customers, is that single source of truth.
And we call it the revenue record of truth, right? So you have some different places, you have a lot of applications, right? Because of the cloud, data is just stored in so many places. So typically your CRM is the customer record of truth.
Right.
And then you may have like the ERP might be the financial, record of truth. Well, for us, we're the revenue record of truth, because that data that actually tells the revenue story is in multiple places. It's not just in one place. And so we're bringing that data together, right, under one umbrella to give you that revenue record of truth.
Okay. And I noticed something else that you all talk about is the ROI. And for most of us, in business, when we hear ROI, we're thinking return on investment. But you all say that ROI is your revenue operating intelligence, right?
Correct.
So explain that. And then I promise we're going to get into the demo.
Right. Well, so a huge part of what we do, and because my better half and a large part of what we do is the marketing team. You have to stand out from the crowd, right? And I think you have to be a little bit creative. And so one of the first reports that we launched was an ROI report, a return on investment report. And so we started thinking about like, what is it that we do? How do we define ourselves? And so, the marketing team actually came up with revenue operations intelligence, right? We're a tool built for the revenue team, which is usually comprised of sales, marketing, also sometimes customer success and finance and ops. But we're showing them, all of that data that we're collecting, that revenue data, and giving them a layer of intelligence on it. So we made a kind of play on words, if you will, with that acronym of ROI.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's very catchy.
Creative.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get into actually seeing what Vertify is. So if you wouldn't mind at this point, Wayne, if you could share your screen for those who are watching the actual video.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, I can. Okay.
All right. So
this is the starting point.
Yeah, when you first come on, we kind of have like a little wizard, if you will, where you would sign up and you would start, a project, a marketing project, if you will. So let's just call it, we'll call it Equilibria, right?
Okay. Oh. It's like, spell it correctly. Okay.
All right. It's a total test of my spelling skills. All right, so let's say that you were using HubSpot and Salesforce. So today, there's a number of marketing tools out on out in the ecosystem. There's a number of CRM or sales tools. Here's a few that we connect with, but literally, every week we're launching new systems that we can connect with.
Okay.
But let's just say it was HubSpot and Salesforce, two pretty common marketing automation and sales applications. So first we would just, literally just connect our data to the two systems.
Okay. And for those who don't have the benefit of seeing this right now, so what Wayne just did, the starting point was entering the company name, and then it automatically asked us which sales tools we use. And I think the choices were HubSpot. No, I'm sorry. That was
HubSpot and Marketo, right, for the marketing automation
for
system.
marketing, yes.
Right.
And then
or NetSuite or Salesforce on the CRM side.
Yes. Right, okay.
Right. Yeah. So you would select which system, and just based on that, there's different ways to connect to each one of those systems.
Okay.
Right. And I won't go into the nuts and bolts of, we just give you a way to input your API credentials.
Okay.
Right? So whether you have a username, password, or your API credentials, you would put that in, and then we connect directly to those systems. So the thing that I do want to mention here is that today we found a number of our customers who are trying to do all of this in spreadsheets. So if you think about going to, these disparate systems and, exporting data, importing data, trying to put it in one place.
Yes.
I mean, it's a pain. I mean,
it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. We've had customers that say that, trying to do this on a, daily or weekly basis based on how frequently their reporting cycles are, it's hours, trying to do these exports and imports all the time, right? And literally with the click of a button, we're accessing that data and bringing it in, via the API, application programming interface.
Okay.
Yeah. So you would connect to those systems. I won't walk straight through that. But what I'll show you is, once we've kind of connected to those systems, here's what we have. And it really is as simple as kind of push button, get results. So think about everybody, again, going back to the use case or the example of doing this in a spreadsheet, or trying to collect thousands, if not tens of thousands of rows of data, trying to put it all together manually, mapping it, saying this data maps to this and this assigns to this, and pivot tables, right? I mean, this is kind of the world that over the past 30 years, spreadsheet technology has not changed.
Right.
It's the same.
That's very true.
It has not changed. It's the same thing. And what we're saying is, why spend those endless hours of going through that manual effort when you could really be spending your time actually looking at the results of analyzing the data and spending your cognitive load on actually saying, what do I do next? You know, and we actually provide some insights on what to do next. So why cobble together all this stuff and manually do all these things in spreadsheets? It's just insane. And our customers are like, we're tired of it. We're tired of doing this stuff in spreadsheets. It's not necessary.
So let me ask a question real quick,
Yeah.
Wayne. So let's say the screen that we're looking at right now is a Rev Optics screen. I
Yep.
see a list of different products,
Yep.
the associated revenue, the
Yeah.
percentage of the revenue that each of those products represents. Is that something that this is data, I'm assuming that, let's say if a company was using Salesforce, this would come directly from Salesforce?
So you remember we connected Salesforce and HubSpot.
Right.
So not just one, we're actually connecting data from two places.
So what's coming from HubSpot versus which is coming from, let's say, a Salesforce?
Great question. Great question. So let me just kind of walk you through from the top for this marketing impact analytics. So what we're saying is, let's start with a specific time frame. And what the marketer wants to see here is, did I have an impact on actual revenue? So think about marketers run all kinds of campaigns, on a yearly basis. Well, did those campaigns actually net revenue? Like, is what I'm doing, making sense? Is it actually helping the business move forward? Or are we doing these things because we think it's a cool campaign to do? And so we're actually helping, looking at a specific time frame. So this is saying, so between July 28th and September 28th, let's look at by campaign results. So this campaign, this influence program success campaign, which comes out of HubSpot, which came out of the marketing automation system.
Okay.
We then tie that campaign to a product and revenue that comes out of the CRM that came out of Salesforce. So what we're saying is, this campaign actually helped to sell these products. And we can tie it together objectively, right? We're not guessing at it. We're actually tying that data together. And so we look at things in the Salesforce, like Salesforce CRM, such as a sales order, or what's called an opportunity, a closed won opportunity, which a lot of B2B companies usually use to track, the actual product or revenue information. So that's where we're grabbing this data from, right? From the CRM.
Okay.
Yep. And then we're calculating the revenue percentage based off of the total of all of that revenue, right? So you sold, what was it? Almost 15 products during this time frame. Here was the total revenue. And then so widget D made up 30% of that revenue. So Widget D did really well with this campaign, right? That gives you a lot of insight as a revenue team, like, wow, maybe we should continue to invest in selling Widget D with this type of campaign.
Right. Now, I also see, so the program spend, is that the budget allocated for that particular marketing campaign?
Exactly. That's not just the budget, but what I actually spent, the cost for that campaign. So we pull that data out of the marketing automation system. And so, sometimes across campaigns, we just show it's the same amount, even though I may have sold multiple products, but that campaign spend may actually be the same. And then we use that to calculate the ROI, the return on investment.
So that is the return on investment this time.
Right.
Okay. So clearly, Widget D, you do more of what's working, right? And it allows you to see from this table that we're looking at that those that are toward the bottom half were not very profitable.
Right. We just resorted and we can kind of see I'm not quite getting the return I expect on some of these.
Right.
Now, for marketers, that's not always a bad thing. Maybe I just started this campaign and maybe my expectation is it's going to take a while for me to, get into the black, right? Maybe I'm in the red in terms of ROI, but a lot of marketers never had this visibility or transparency before. So at least now seeing, I just started maybe with widget C, I'm at minus 10% today, but maybe, I'm going to be at, in the positive next month. So getting that visibility and transparency they just never had before. And now they can kind of see where they stand.
And the other powerful thing is, to build off of the example that you just shared, with widget C, for example, is you now have that ability to, I would imagine, track it over an extended period of time and start to look for patterns. Is it seasonal?
Right,
Are
right.
there certain times of the year when widget C, our campaign with widget C does really well?
Exactly.
Um, and I would imagine you could break it down even further, looking into demographics and other things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think just where you were kind of going with this, right, is the ability to do things like benchmarking. Um,
Yes.
so oftentimes when marketers specifically present to maybe their board of directors or their leadership team, you may say, well, hey, this one did, widget ended, almost 200% in ROI. Is that good or bad? I mean, I have such a wide range between minus 10 and almost 2000%. And so we actually give you the ability to benchmark, here's widget D, which is kind of best in class, because there are industry standards for typically some types of marketing campaigns. So we give you that ability to benchmark that data against industry standard, so you can go to your organization and say, here's how we compare against everybody else in the world, so you can see like relatively how you're performing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that ability, whether it's historical benchmarking or just industry standard benchmarking, seeing how you're performing against others is hugely beneficial.
Is that coming from, so I would imagine at some point when you're completing your company's profile that you have to enter the type of industry that the company is in?
It is helpful. And so some of that data
Okay.
today, when we do the benchmarking, is based off of, again, you think about all of the data that we're, collecting through the integration, we just get a chance to be smart about what those industry standards are.
Okay.
We're a data company. So some of it is just us understanding what those benchmarks are. And over time, right, we'll get better in helping to do, whether it's competitive benchmarking or there might be different cohorts that you want to benchmark against. The system is flexible enough to be able to handle different types of benchmarking.
Now, Wayne, do you have the ability to export? I know we're trying to get rid of spreadsheets. Oh, I do see an export button.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
totally. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, this is very complimentary to some degree. This is not to say you will never need spreadsheets again.
Right.
It's still a good time and place for some spreadsheets or whatever, right? And yeah, if you still need that ability to kind of export this, we still give that that ability.
Now, what I'm also curious about is, again, so we were talking about widget C as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Which, does Vertify give you the ability to track widget C? Let's say if you wanted to look at widget C's ROI
Mm-hmm.
over, on a monthly basis over the past 6 months, but you actually want to see it as, I don't know, let's say a bar chart or a line chart.
Mm-hmm.
Does it give that ability to track it visually in that way?
Yeah, not quite yet. And what I can tell you though is literally our engineering team is cranking out new features and capabilities on a weekly basis. Just so for example, a lot of our customers wanted to see, all right, don't just show me at a campaign level, show me at an actual activity type, right? So if you think about all the different marketing activities you do, you send emails, right? You do this,
Yes.
you do email sends, you
Mm-hmm.
do form fills.
Yes.
How is that tracking? We literally just rolled this out a week ago. So, some of those things that you're talking about, those additional visualizations are things that are in our product backlog that we're going to continue to roll out. But
Okay.
our marketing, our product and engineering team are doing a great job of rolling out all of those new features.
I can share a personal example, something that I just learned this morning. So I
What's
recently
that?
hired a new web and network administrator,
Okay.
and we were looking at the bounce rate on one of the websites.
Right. Right.
And it was much higher than I thought it was. And here I was for the past several months, Wayne, literally kind of guessing,
Yeah.
not really looking at the Google Analytics in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what he told me was, he said, "Well, let's dig a little bit deeper." So this is kind of, I think you'll appreciate where I'm going with this. But he said,
Right.
well, we have to look at it because your site is being hit with, it's being attacked. So that's why that bounce rate is forcing that bounce rate to go up.
Right.
But had we not really, you see things on a surface level, you know something isn't right, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Do you envision, I don't know if this is also maybe if this is a feature now or if it's in the product backlog, but I know something else that so many of us deal with across the board, across industries, is that search engine optimization, those analytics. For
Right.
example, with landing pages, you have a marketing campaign, you're driving people to, let's say there's a Facebook ad campaign that the company is doing. It's driving visitors or people who click on that Facebook ad. It then drives them to a landing page. And then what happens next?
Right.
Is that also data? Because I know with HubSpot, you create these landing pages, but what I don't know yet about HubSpot is whether or not it brings in that Google Analytics piece as well, so that you can understand the actual traffic to the site or get maybe even more insights. Is that something that you all are also maybe thinking about bringing into the fold?
No, we actually do bring that data. So this
Oh,
particular
okay.
campaign, I'm not sure if it actually reflects it. So I don't see website visits or things like that. But yeah, that data is totally available and accessible through the analytics. So we
Okay.
totally bring that data in, right? So if we just kind of go back to a campaign view, you can see the different things that might have been, maybe you were running a free trial, right? And you can kind of decide to view, okay, I want to see how that free trial specifically did. And maybe it had a landing page, available to it. Or let me see, these different activity types that were available. So yeah, we totally bring in any of that Google Analytics, website visits, and that
Okay,
data
great.
is accessible to us, and we do bring it into the analytics platform.
At what point does that come into play? Is it during when you're first signing up, Wayne, or can you at some point go into your settings and add even more tools that you would
So
want to integrate?
So what we've done to date is we've used some machine learning to see and understand what are the common things that most marketers care about in terms of those types of activities,
Okay.
right? So, there's things like form fill, website visits, open an email, click an email, attended a webinar, downloaded a case
Yes.
study. Those are the common things that what our machine learning capability does is it goes and looks at your marketing automation system and pulls back that data automatically. So you don't have to go and say, let me select all of the things that matter. We kind of have a good sense for the things that matter. And then if you decide, oh, but there's this unique special thing that I want to evaluate too, again, we have the flexibility to bring that data in, and it's really just a setting change.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the revenue team and,
Mm-hmm.
that operations being a part of that. What role does operations play at this point with this screen for example, with the screen that we're looking at right now?
Yeah. So first, I think you need to look at which operations group. So, I think historically you had, general operations. So maybe the COO, right?
Right.
That had, that operations group that was all about kind of like the internal workings of the organization.
Right. Right.
But what has happened, probably, in the past 5 years or so is now you have sales operations, sales ops, you have marketing operations, and now
Yes.
you have revenue operations. You have all these different groups that kind of abide by the same mantra, if you will, of, understanding the operations, the internal workings of the company, understanding the systems, bringing it all together, reporting on it, trying to make some efficiencies out of what we're doing. And so what we've kind of attached ourselves to is the revenue operations team, which typically reports to what's called a CRO, a chief revenue operator. Now that person might sit side by side with a COO. It just depends on the type of company, whether it's a SaaS company or a manufacturing company or something like that, right? But sometimes those, the CRO, the chief revenue operator, the chief operating officer may work hand in hand. It might be the same person, just depending on the type of company. We've built this specifically for the revenue ops, the rev ops team, so revenue operations. But depending on the size of the team, I can tell you we have some customers that are in the SMB space where they don't have a revenue team per se. They don't have a CRO. They have a COO that's interested in providing this data for the board of directors, for the finance and accounting team. Because again, that COO is going to help make decisions on how much money do we give marketing, next quarter, next year, right? And so the operations team needs to understand how these things are working. Are they working? Yes. What do we invest our time and money in? So I think, that operations role really depends on the type of company, the industry, the size of company, whether it's revenue operations or the more traditional, operations group, if you will.
So something else that I see because being able to actually is one thing, and this is absolutely fantastic, being able to see the data. But not everybody actually knows how to analyze data. You know what I mean? So I can tell you what I see when I'm looking at the screen right now. As a person who comes from the operations background, this is what I see. This is giving me insight, Wayne, into what products are selling well.
Exactly.
The ones that we need to invest, those that are selling well, again, you want to do more of what's working. So now as an operations leader, I can then go back to my team and say, okay, we're going to be ramping up widget B and C because they're doing really well. So we have to make sure that from an operations standpoint that we have all of our systems and processes in place so that we can deliver these widgets on time without compromising the quality or the value of the product.
Yeah. You hit, Alicia, you hit the nail on the head. It was actually I know what your IQ is, but anyway, it was actually a byproduct of what we had developed by getting very granular with the data, where we actually talked to some of our customers to see, like, hey, tell us what else are you using this for? And that was one of the pieces of feedback, was that we didn't even realize there were two things. Number one was what you just said. This actually helped us decide better product decisions.
Yes.
Like, should we really be wasting our time on widget E? What is if we're a manufacturing company, like, we're not getting the return on that product. We need to stop, maybe building or selling that product. So that was the first thing. And then it was, upsell and cross-sell opportunities, right? If we see that one type of product is really resonating with a type of campaign, maybe we go to our existing customers to see, should we try this product with another customer? So it's all of those product decisions that were almost a byproduct. We weren't even intending it, but it kind of came out as kind of a use case, if you will, to help better product decision-making for the operations team. So yeah, absolutely.
And this is what, in essence, brings together all of these different people who would traditionally work in silos. This information brings everyone together. You're looking at the same set of data.
Right.
And making decisions collectively
right.
about what will be best for the company.
You're all speaking the same language, right?
Yes.
You don't have ops presenting data from one system and then sales presenting data from another system. It's a revenue system of record. We're all looking at the same data. We're all making decisions off of the same, insights. One thing that I just want to show real quick, if we have a second.
Oh yeah, sure.
Is this ability to show insights. So we're trying to help not only give you visualizations and analyze the data, but take, again, some of that cognitive load off of, well, what do I do next? Or what are some of the things that I have to fix? And so the system is smart enough to recognize, hey, actually, we're going to make a recommendation. We noticed that your program spend is $0. Mm-hmm. If you update the cost in your marketing automation system, you can then get accurate ROI and benchmarking. And then we kind of show you a before and after. So right now, we're helping you to improve your data, right? Because everybody talks about the accuracy of their data, mm-hmm. but they don't know where to start. Well, we're kind of running some diagnostics on the data to help you not only improve your accuracy of the data, so now your reporting is going to be better, but now your analytics will be better by being able to do some of these insights. So this is just an example of us making a recommendation based off of those diagnostics of the data.
Okay. And so you just click the insights button and
Right.
that's what show insights button.
Yeah.
And then okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's literally it. You
That's
just
it.
click the
That's it.
button. You
You
don't
click
have
the button.
to,
Right.
you don't have to play around with numbers on your own.
No, no. I mean,
There's no simulation. It's
no, I mean, there's just some things, right, that a human may not always understand or
yeah.
see. And so we actually look for patterns and trends in the data, right? That's what computers are good for.
Right, right.
To surface up, some insights. So if you kind of notice, like this one doesn't have the insights button because the program spend data is there. So the system is smart enough to know when some of those anomalies or when it's running those diagnostics to show something that's of, that could be insightful for the end user.
Okay. And so you can go back in time as far back as whenever you were using these different systems that you've brought into Vertify,
So
right?
we basically allow for a rolling 12 months worth of data.
Okay.
Which if you look at most CRM and marketing automation systems, when you're trying to do reporting, especially marketing automation systems, they may only allow you to go back maybe 3 months to do analytics. And then they start to charge you a pretty hefty amount to go back, even further than that. And we kind of start out by saying, no, we'll go back 12 months to help you run that, run those analytics.
And that's another reason I would imagine why it's good to still be able to have that export feature.
Exactly.
So that way you don't lose that historical data. If you did want to go back in time and look at your progression over the years. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Mr. Lopez, I see you. See you.
Hey, like I said, 100% customer driven, Alicia. I mean, we take feedback from our customers. We talk to them frequently. We talk to prospects when we're running demos. I mean, we have prospects that are like, hey, I would like it if it did X. And we go and build that. And they're like, wait, you guys built that in a week? I'll totally go and sign up and buy this. Because we listen to our customers and we really value that feedback.
Well, let me ask you something else. So Vertify isn't considered middleware, is it?
No, that's a dirty word for us. That was a term used 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
When
dating myself.
When people were connecting systems.
Yes.
And that's a part of what we do.
Okay.
But it's so much more, right? I mean, the integration is the foundation, but really it's about the analytics and the insights. That's more than something like.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking for people who may be watching or listening and they're thinking, well, how is this different from, let's say, Zapier?
Zapier is not going to give you these insights.
Right. Zapier is literally right. They're just literally making sure that the two or more systems can communicate with each other. But you all are taking it a step further.
Right.
Or farther, whichever.
We're taking it a step further because, look, every customer goes on what we call the data strategy journey. You have to connect the data first, right? And there's multiple ways to do that, and we actually do that, right? And we're pretty good at that. And after you connect it, you want to make sure that it's quality data, that it's cleansed, it's enriched. And then, only then, you want to make sure I should be able to run my analytics on it, right? Every customer goes through that journey. Yes. And we help our customers go through that entire journey. Every step, we connect it, we cleanse it, we enrich it, and then we help you run the analytics on it.
Collect, cleanse, enrich. Okay. Yep. So I've been trying to, as you've been talking us through and walking us through this demo, Wayne, I was attempting to kind of write out a generic process or workflow. So first, obviously, you have to sign up for an account, and then you start by selecting those systems that you're already using, so that you can tell Vertify from which systems you want to start connecting.
Collect your data.
Yeah. Right. Yep. And then from there, once you're actually into the system, you then select a data range, and then you click get results and It's literally
It's
that
literally push
simple.
button, get answers. Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
we
yes,
really
yes. So that's not complicated at all.
not at all. And that was the whole point, was to make this not complicated. It's not, technology is to a point where it doesn't have to be complicated.
Because I keep trying to say, well, there has to be something else, but this is it. No, this is great. Well,
That's the
because
magic
that's how
sauce.
it, yeah, that's how it is when you get into some of these systems and it's overwhelming
Right.
and you think there's a huge learning curve, but really there's no real, you have
It
to
doesn't
learn the
have to
system,
be
right? Right. It
right.
doesn't have to be complicated.
It doesn't have to be complicated, Alicia.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. I mean, literally, it's literally clicks of a button and you see, different results.
And it's
In that,
fast,
and it's fast, and it's
very
fast. And
fast.
that was important. That was important when we built this, because people are just used to, I want my answers quick. I want real-time information. And so building that performance into it, was something that we challenged the engineering team with, and they were able to execute on that. Right. So it's
That's
like, give me
awesome.
all of the results and give it to me fast.
Right, right. So, okay. So speaking of process, that's just one component of business infrastructure. This is the Business Infrastructure Podcast.
Yep.
So if you are listening or watching this for the first time, let me first tell you what business infrastructure is. So it is simply a system for how you link your people, your processes, and your tools. So just like Vertify is linking or connecting data from all of these different locations and different systems, business infrastructure actually links, again, your people, your processes, and your tools so that growth can happen in a very profitable and sustainable way. So I want to talk about the people piece a little bit more, Wayne, if we can. So
Sure.
you mentioned, I was just trying to think, okay, ideally who would be using this? And you've already said this. So you mentioned a chief revenue officer, the revenue team, which could be
Marketing managers, marketing
marketing
managers are
managers.
often tasked with show us the impact of what you all have been working on from a marketing standpoint. Yeah.
Right, right. And then you mentioned, the people that comprise this team. So you have representatives from operations, finance, marketing, sales. Any other group within a company that would typically be involved in decisions?
Yeah. So customer success. I
Customer
think,
success. Yes, yes,
that's a
yes.
group that I think when you look at some of the newness around some of these roles and departments, especially software companies, it's not, you can't have a software company without customer success, right? It was one of the first teams that we built out, even internally. And when you look at the ability to help improve what customer success is doing, to help educate them on what's working, what's not working, so they can have that educated conversation with their customer to help show the value of the things that they're doing. This is hugely beneficial as well. And so we actually tie into some of that data as well. We're kind of at the beginning stages of that. So when you think about even data coming from a Salesforce or a NetSuite CRM, tools like Gainsight and things like that, that have some of
Mm-hmm.
that customer success data, I think this is important for them as well, to be able to tap into what's working, what's not working, for your teams.
Absolutely. Now, as far as tools, I mean, it is what it is. This is Vertify, but I heard you mention some of the different types of technologies that you all leverage
Mhm.
in Vertify. So you mentioned machine learning, AI.
Yep.
So it seems as though all you need is a computer, right? And
Yeah. Not much else. I mean,
right,
all of the complexity is underneath and on the back end, right? And we just try to make sense out of what
right.
can be chaos in terms of numbers and data, and present it in a way that's meaningful to the user. But yeah, some of the machine learning and things like that is all kind of the sauce underneath that helps
Hmm.
bring this stuff to light and makes it easier.
Now, who is the target customer for Vertify?
Yeah. So, when we go back and look at, who has this resonated with the most, and there's a lot of people that can benefit from it, but today, it really resonates well with marketing managers, demand gen managers, or marketing ops people on the marketing team. Now, even though we build this as a revenue, operations intelligence platform, and that's typically comprised of sales, marketing, customer success, our go-to-market today has been the marketing team, because we've seen that they're on the forefront of not having the data that they need necessary to prove what they're doing is working. And so we felt like they had the biggest pain. And if we could solve it for them, they could then work with their sales cohort and everybody else to be able to bring these things to light. So that marketing manager, that demand gen manager, those are the people that some of the types of profile companies that we really work well with and better than others are B2B, what we call scaling SMBs. Those are SMBs that are growing a little bit quickly. This is probably not that good of a tool if you're a mom and pop donut shop. I love donuts. Donuts are my favorite thing in the whole wide world. But they have just different needs than from a scaling SMB,
right,
or even an early mid-market company. There are a couple of industries that we seem to resonate with well. So like SaaS, software, high tech, manufacturing, financial services, healthcare, people that are going through this digital transformation, right?
Yes.
Part of it because of COVID.
Exactly.
They've been forced to. And now they're like, wow, we have to have a way to get access to this data, and our people have to be able to talk one language. So, those are some of the industries, some of the personas that we seem to resonate well with, that have a need for our tool.
And what is the best, well, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you wanted to point out as it pertains to Vertify? Is there anything else?
Just that, again, we have a team here in Austin, and now we actually have a part of our team in Atlanta as well, that I will continue to harp on. We're 100% customer driven, right? I've been, unfortunately, part of companies that never listen to their customers and they build things in vacuums. We try to solve real problems for our customers. It doesn't mean that we build everything that they ask for, but we listen to them intently, constantly. Like, we have a mechanism for that. Like, if you want to do another show on product operations, I can do that one for you too, Alicia. But I think that's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on, is being customer centric. That was one of our values, right? Customer centric and solutions focused. Like, we don't build things in vacuums. We build things to solve real problems for our customers, and we really pride ourselves on doing that.
Well, that is awesome. Well, as you all can hear and see, Mr. Lopez is very energetic. He's always been this way, very enthusiastic. Well, Wayne, this was great. What's the best way for people to find out more about Vertify, and can they just do a demo on their own? Do they sign up for one? How does that work?
Yeah, so actually we just rolled out the ability to do what we call a guided tour. Okay. Where you can kind of see, instead of signing up for a demo or the free trial, you can just kind of see some, what we call dummy data in action. So, you can kind of see sample data and just do a guided tour. And you go to www.vertify.com, Vertify, and you can sign up for the tour. You can say, hey, no, I want to actually have, one of the folks from the sales team walk me through this. You can say, I just want to run a free trial with my own data for 30 days. We allow free trials as well.
Okay. And if people want to follow you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Okay. I can definitely share. I'm not sure if I know my profile URL on LinkedIn, but if you go to Wayne Lopez Austin, not to be confused with Wayne Lopez, some actor. I can't remember. There's some actor in Hollywood named Wayne Lopez. But,
okay.
I'm not him. But at any rate, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Relatively active on Twitter. I'll post the occasional thought-provoking thing. I kind of like to see what people are talking about more on Twitter, but definitely LinkedIn.
Okay. What's your handle on Twitter?
It's Wayne_Lopez.
Okay, Wayne_Lopez on Twitter. Okay, folks. Well, can you stop sharing? I just want to make sure that they can see both of us now. See our lovely faces, Wayne.
Your lovely face.
Okay, so you're way too kind. So there you have it, everyone. We've learned about Vertify, the story behind it. You've seen the demo, or you've heard about the demo. If you have not seen the video, definitely go and make sure you check it out on businessinfrastructure.tv. We'll definitely have the video there. But make sure you go to vertify.com. That's V like Victor, ERT like Tom, IFY.com. And if you want to follow Wayne, he's on LinkedIn. Just look for him at Wayne Lopez. And if you're trying to do if there are a gazillion Wayne Lopez's that come up, just use a filter Austin, Texas, here in the US. And he's also on Twitter. His handle is Wayne_Lopez. And Wayne is spelled WAYNE. Listen, folks, our ability as leaders to make good decisions is only as good as the data that we're using to back or support those decisions. So this was such a streamlined way of pulling that data together, giving us insights with literally just the click of a button. So Wayne, I am very impressed, and we will definitely be doing all that we can to help promote you and Vertify and what you and your co-founder Matt have built. It's really amazing. So thank you so much for coming on the show and
you're welcome.
Talking about it and giving us a demo. If there's anything the pandemic has taught me, it's the importance of upping your digital technology game. If you use tools like Salesforce and Hubspot, then you know how frustrating it can be when they don't integrate with other digital technologies that you use. Beyond that, actually making decisions based on this data can seem impossible. Let's recap how Vertify can help you solve this problem. First, make sure you sign up for an account at vertify.com. Next, connect your existing sales and marketing technologies with just the click of a button. If you don't see your tool listed, make sure you let them know. Next, select a data range and then analyze those results. After that, make sure you share those results across your entire revenue team. That includes operations, finance, marketing, and sales. Next, decide as a team the next steps and whether you will continue as is or make improvements. And then last, repeat the process at the end of the next data range or at the end of your next campaign. And I have a feeling you're about to say something slick.
No, I just want to say how super proud I am of you. I mean, I just think
thank you,
back
Wayne.
to our engineering days at LSU.
Yes.
I mean, I can't be, I don't know if prouder is a word, but I'm just super proud of what you've been able to accomplish, not only with the podcast, but with your business. If you're not following, Alicia, not only your book, Twitter, LinkedIn, those things, you always have some insightful things to say around operations. So super proud of what you've been able to accomplish.
Thank you, Wayne. I thought you were going to say something funny.
No.
We'll reserve that once we stop the recording.
Right.
But thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time out to come and share Vertify with us. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Vertify is onto something really big. So stop making decisions based on hunches and rid yourself of those clunky, cumbersome spreadsheets. I can already think of people in my network that I'm going to refer to Vertify. What about you? What impact would more reliable data have on your business operations? How would it change your sales and marketing strategies? And how would it affect revenue and profitability? There's only one way to find out. Make sure you sign up for a free demo and find out how you and your team can increase your company's ROI, your revenue operating intelligence. Head on over to businessinfrastructure.tv, where you can see Wayne's full demo as well as access links to all of the resources that he shared. And while you're there, be sure to also subscribe to this podcast as well as to our YouTube channel. Again, that's businessinfrastructure.tv. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and for being a loyal subscriber. Remember, stay focused, be encouraged. This entrepreneurial journey is a marathon and not a sprint. Until the next time.